Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of I Saw the Devil, a Korean thriller horror hybrid from 2010 that was directed by Kim Ji-woon. Now I believe I covered this movie in my Asian horror playlist, but I wanted to do a separate review after recently revisiting it. Jang, played by Choi Min-sik, is a dangerous psychopath serial killer. He has committed serial murders in diabolical ways that one cannot even imagine, and his victims range from young women to even children. The police have chased him for a long time, but were unable to catch him. One day, the daughter of a retired police chief becomes his prey, and is found dead in a horrific state. Her fiance, a government agent, played by Lee Byung-hun, decides to track down the murderer himself. He promises that he will do everything in his power to take bloody vengeance against the killer. Now, the opening shot of this movie is deceptively calm and quaint, really. It has a nighttime drive scene and a light snowfall, and then we see our first victim, a pretty woman who's talking on the phone in her car. And we get a cute little moment with Lee Byung-hun's character singing a little song to her over the phone. Then Choi Min-sik shows up and bad things happen. Now I'm going to be honest with you here. Alright, the premise in this film, it's nothing mind-blowing, really. And to be honest, I've always felt that the script writing in this film was just kind of okay. You know, up to this point in his career, I Saw the Devil was one of Kim Ji-woon's most straightforward movies. Remember, this is the same guy who directed A Tale of Two Sisters, which was quite complex. Now, I have seen criticisms of this director that he's mostly style over substance, and I've seen this over the years, even going as far back as like the mid-2000s on message boards, way back in the day. But even something like A Bittersweet Life felt like there was something to think about within it. You know, while I watched the film, it made me think about stuff. There's a little bit of ambiguity, some character work. So I think that the message board criticism of Kim, that he's more style over substance, I don't think it holds as much weight as people thought back in the day. But we get less complexity in I Saw the Devil, I do feel. Now, the characters are on the thin side. All right, things do get a little contrived in spots. Like within the opening half hour, the cops reduce the suspects down to 4 dudes, like at the drop of a hat. You know, apparently there was just like 4 guys that they knew were killing people, but couldn't like pin the crimes on them or something, or prosecute them. It seemed that's basically the extent of the investigation. Like Lee Byung-hun's boss just drops these 4 names right on his desk. It's okay, yeah, it's one of these 4 guys probably. And our protagonist spends a few minutes of screen time punching some of them in the face, and then he quickly narrows it down to Choi Min-sik's character. It does streamline things, gets to the thrills faster, but it does seem a little bit too easy. But to this film's credit, it's difficult to kind of figure out where the plotline is going at times, and this establishes a little bit of unpredictability. The catch and release method of torture that our protagonist uses is definitely, it adds something a little bit different. You know, like the concept of punishing someone and then releasing them, and then catching them and then punishing them again, and then releasing them. That's not something we typically see in movies that often. You know, usually revenge films, it's like you just get there and you kill the guy. But it's not the case here. And that definitely does help to add a little bit of freshness and creativity and compensate for some of the other simplistic elements. I mean, there's no question, though, that this film's purpose is to extract tension, horror, and emotional reaction from the viewer. And in that sense, it's a resounding success. Now, we need to briefly talk about the 2 lead actors here. I mean, this is one of those movies that's essentially a 2-man show, and they both deliver. You know, Choi Min-sik in particular, extremely menacing and soulless in this film. He likes to kind of briefly intimidate his victims before killing them, and he's immediately dislikable, and you want to see him suffer very badly. Now, Lee Byung-hun, on the other hand, does a nice job of being sympathetic early on, given the tragedy, and he's also good at being a badass, so he's a little, multidimensional, I guess. Now, this director has previously worked with both actors in the past, And that familiarity and experience working together, I think, helped to get the best performances possible. Now, the violence in this, it's pretty brutal. It's bloody, it's gory, mean-spirited, and it will disturb some viewers. The opening 15 minutes, in and of themselves, are pretty brutal enough, and it just gets worse after that. There are a number of memorable suspense scenes, though, with some pretty fantastic direction and camera work. There's some real tension that's earned, with not only the serial killer attacks, but also his clashes with our protagonist and even some of the bad guys that show up. The greenhouse fight is a highlight, as is the fight inside of the car, and you'll see that one coming. I Saw the Devil continues to kind of elevate this intensity all the way to the end of the film. So in terms of like visceral thrills, it's a movie to be reckoned with, and that's one of the reasons why it's so popular in terms of Korean cinema. Runtime, 2 hours and 22 minutes long, but it actually feels a lot shorter. Like, you do not feel the length of this movie at all. And that says a lot about its pure entertainment value. Again, I do think that the script is a little on the thin side, but if this like sounds like a premise that's up your alley and you have not seen it, definitely check it out. I mean, a lot of people love this, and I think it's a really, really entertaining film. So I Saw the Devil, currently available on streaming and physical media. And as always, I will see you next time.